again, it's Matt. Today I want to talk about two indie games that are made by the same guy. They are Helltaker, released in 2020, and Awaria, released in 2024. The dev in question is a Polish man named Lukas Piskors, which I'm sure I've pronounced wrong. He also goes by Van Ripper on the internet. As far as I know, he did all of the art, design, and programming for each of these games. They're both pretty short, but they have a lot of detail and a real charm that comes from quirkiness and effort, and you know I love effort. Let's start with Helltaker. In terms of gameplay, it's mostly just a short, block-pushing puzzle game. What really makes it interesting is the presentation. You play as a man only described as the Helltaker, a well-dressed dude in shades that decides to go to hell to hit on demon girls. It's not a lot of story, but it doesn't need to be. Right off the bat, the art style is unique and it looks great. Every single one of the girls is well dressed and attractive while also having their own styles and distinctive looks. The stages, the splash pages, and the backgrounds, they're all nicely drawn with a clear attention to detail. All the models on the map have their own little animation cycles as well. This might seem normal for a video game, but everything is more impressive when you consider it as the effort of one man. So the actual gameplay is mostly block pushing. This is a style of game that dates back to the 1981 Japanese game Sokoban. It's not complicated, it's a simple puzzle game style that requires you to ration your moves to make it to the demon girl at the end of the level. The idea is that being in hell saps your strength, so each step is precious. I'm not going to rave about this gameplay, we've all seen it before. You push enemies and rocks out of the way, you find keys, you move through spikes when they're down. This isn't particularly innovative, but it is well done. It's more like perfunctory gameplay to get to the interesting parts of the game, which are visual novel-style conversations you have with the girls after you finish their levels. You make it to them, and then you start talking to them, and you get a strong sense of their individual personalities, and then you have to answer a question they ask you. If you get it wrong, they kill you, which is appropriate for a demon. Getting it right gets her to agree to come with you and not murder you. Like I said, each girl is very different, and as you continue the game, the ones that you've already gathered can give you advice or just idle chatter about the level you're on or the next girl you're about to meet. Obviously, some of the characters are going to be better than others, but they're all interesting, so I'm going to kind of just give a quick rundown on each of them. It's worth noting that at the very startup of the game, you meet Beelzebub, who acts as a narrator. They are a big scary fly demon, they are not a cute girl, and I don't really care about them. The first girl you meet is Hell's customer service representative, Pandemonica, the tired demon. You basically just meet her and offer to get her coffee, and that makes her come with you. Simple enough. As you continue through the game, she'll probably give you the most useful advice. She's one of the less quirky characters. However, in the epilogue of the game, you finally do give her coffee, and she wakes up and gets energy and becomes Pandemonica, the sadistic demon, so maybe it's not all great. You know, depending on what you're into. I do think it's important to note at this point that there is no sexual content in this game, even though the Helltaker is ostensibly gathering these girls for a harem, but we'll get to that later. The true reason for my disclaimer about sexual content is because the next girl is Modius, the lustful demon. She actually appears to not really know anything about romance, but she's curious. Next up is Cerberus, the triple demon. It's three girls with dog ears that all appear to share the same brain? They want to corrupt the mortal realm, and apparently they need a human to get out of hell, so that's where you come in. They gladly agree to come with you. If memory serves, these were by far the most popular characters from this game. It's not hard to see why. They're pretty funny and they're pretty cute. Next up is Melina. She's got a headache and she likes to play games. You make an innuendo at her, she thinks you're talking about video games. Honestly, when it comes to Helltaker, lame innuendos are about the best he's got. He's lucky that the demon women always either respond to it or take it the wrong way and still go with him. You know, aside from the times that they kill you. But those don't count. Those aren't canon. After that is Zadrada? Zadrada? I'm gonna say it's Zadrada. She's a bad influence and the other demons don't really like her, and ironically she wears a cross. She's immediately into your harem and goes with you without question. After that, you meet a friendly angel named Azazel who's down here doing research on demons. She's very sweet and pure and she just comes with you out of curiosity. The Justice Demon is blind, which is a great pun. Eventually, you make your way to Lucifer, the CEO of Hell. She's a big badass, she's just got a swirling wine glass in her hand and she kind of mocks you, but you offer her pancakes and she has a thing for pancakes, so she joins you. And after that, you think you'd be done, but there's one more demon lady that's not happy you came to hell and did whatever you wanted. It's Judgment, and she's gonna make you play an entirely different game for your punishment. Her levels are no longer turn-based. You still move on a grid, but you have to actually dodge things in real time. It is significantly more difficult than the slow puzzles of the previous parts of the game. The other girls chime in support of you and telling Judgment to leave you alone, but she doesn't listen until you beat up her chains and break out. You also throw some compliments her way, just for good measure. Eventually she agrees to postpone your torture and murder until
sometime in the future, presumably when you're already going to die. After that, there's a nice little epilogue where you get to talk to all the different girls and see what kind of trouble they've been up to, and you give them all pancakes. It's really fun and cute and surprisingly wholesome given the subject matter. Even though it's pretty short and therefore not much content, these character designs and personalities were instant hits of the general internet crowd. Van Ripper even followed up after the game with some extra comics, and a year later added more content to the game.
The added content is a few more levels called Exam-Taker, where you work for a suspiciously familiar angel and Lucifer, who is a maid. You're just some sort of artificial grunt that they whipped up in the lab, and you're there to do tests, and they do experiments on you. And the final level is an active, difficult fight. I'm just saying, I had to do this multiple times to memorize the pattern, because there's no way that any regular person is going to react in time to learn this stuff on the first try. It's rough.
I just wanted you to know how hard it was.
I personally enjoyed this fun, unserious take on subjects that would normally be scary or overly nihilistic. The demon girls are dangerous, but the fact that they are wooed by pancakes and Helltaker's sheer determination is charming too. But what I really like to talk about are games that didn't get as popular as I think they should have. Maybe they just missed the zeitgeist, maybe they weren't marketed, maybe they just didn't appeal to large audiences. All I can really say is that I prefer hidden gems to known successes, and Helltaker is a known success. It doesn't make it worse, but it doesn't really mean that I need to talk about it, because tons of other people already have. Now, Awaria, on the other hand, didn't make nearly as much of a splash. It came out last year, and personally I didn't even hear about it until a few weeks ago, but I like it, maybe even more than Helltaker. Awaria has significantly more focus on the gameplay, which is fully active, and it gets rid of the turn-based and grid-based style of Helltaker. In Awaria, you play as a mechanic named Ula, who maintains machines while dodging female ghosts. It is about making decisions on the fly and having quick reflexes, and the game massively spikes in difficulty as you proceed through the levels. On the highest difficulty, getting hit even once by a ghost is a loss. If you can stay alive and fix the machines enough times, you'll beat the level and Ula will kiss the ghost. This kind of absurd premise is exactly what I came looking for though, and it's what I'd expect from Van Ripper. His art has clearly improved in the intervening 4 years, and he's managed to make a fast-paced game that I really enjoyed playing. Basically, it's a top-down game where you pick up objects, you can only carry 2 at once, and move them to the machines that need them. It's got a lot of running back and forth, but based on the movements of the ghosts and the objects you need, your brain is always going to have to be plotting out new routes and moves. This is very easy in the first few levels, but as you continue, you face new ghosts and the old ones level up, getting more powerful. It's got a pretty small cast this time.
The first ghost, and the one that shows up the most often, is Zamora. She's a lightning ghost that really actually does want to kill you, but is won over eventually by Ula's charm and her pudding pies. Since she's the most common ghost, she levels up the most times, she appears in the most levels, and she gets the most new attack patterns that you're constantly having to learn. There's the fun one where she slams down 3 times in a cross shape and you have to constantly be moving. Moving diagonally helps a lot on this one, but it really messes up your pathing. Like I said, most of the game is about pathing, so you have to play around the ghosts taking up your paths. Her other attacks include calling down lightning and just straight up trying to hit you with a wrench. Eventually, she and Ula become friends and even teammates when she's forced to possess Ula so they can fight the final boss ghost. If there's a main character ghost, it is Zamora. As we continue through the levels, the boss will give us little updates, basically saying we're the only actual human left alive down here, as the other maintenance girls have all just died and become ghosts themselves. A couple of these girls have become the Cutwires. One of them just chases you around with big wire cutters trying to kill you, and the other one throws smaller, knife-like wire cutters at you and leaves dangerous puddles on the ground. They don't really get a lot of characterization, but it is interesting to know that a lot of the Awaria workers become the ghosts that the later Awaria workers have to face. Also, during these early Cutwire levels, we are introduced to the mechanic of taking one of the normal repair items and putting it in another station to cause it to be turned into a different repair item, which just adds another layer of obfuscation on fixing these machines. If I'm giving gameplay tips, which I normally don't, I'm gonna say that it's always important to restart a machine after you take an object out of it so that it will spawn by the time you get back and need it again. This is an incredibly important part of strategy for the later, harder levels. The next ghost is Nikita, a large muscular lady that apparently used to work at a forge. She throws fire at you and tries to block your path with splitting fire. She's notable for the humorous moment when Ula first tries to kiss her and leaves to go get a ladder because she's so tall. For a while after Nikita is introduced, the levels are kind of just any mix of the ghosts that you've already met, and eventually Ula disappears. She is kidnapped by the last final boss ghost. So Ula's boss, oddly named Baba Yaga, goes looking for her, and her levels are harder, but she has a dash mechanic that lets you jump through dangerous stuff. She's been characterized as kind of unfeeling and uncaring about all the different workers that have come down here to die, but the fact that she goes to look for and rescue Ula is nice. Baba Yaga talks to the other ghosts that you've seen throughout the game and finds out that her old nemesis, Dr. Striga, has kidnapped Ula and is holding her in the lower tunnels. Dr. Striga is the final boss. She's a ghost that's apparently been around for a long time and is capable of building other mechanical ghost sort of things, which is weird and doesn't really make a lot of sense, but she can do it. Baba Yaga faces off against Dr. Striga for a bit, and then Zamora and Ula combine forces and face off against Striga themselves. As the combination of Zamora and Ula, you have a lightning dash that works the same as Baba Yaga's dash, but also destroys Dr. Striga's ghostly creations, which is really helpful. I once again want to stress that this game can be extremely difficult, especially on the hardest difficulty. These last two levels took me over an hour to beat. However, I'm not complaining about the difficulty. I had a lot of fun figuring out and adjusting to the difficulty of these levels, and I learned a lot of good strategies. After you beat the boss, Baba Yaga and Striga just kind of continue to go at it for a while, arguing and fighting even more as your characters look on. It seems that they may also have their own sort of love-hate relationship that Ula has with their current ghosts. And that's the end of the game. For beating it on the hardest difficulty completely, I unlocked a lot of interesting art and concepts and just notes about making the game. There's a lot of notes that Van Ripper leaves that I find interesting, but one of the most important ones is a bit about game design where he talks about the consistent color language of the game. When you're playing the game, the bright green means ghosts, it means danger, it means don't touch this, and the purple is everything else. It's all the mundane things that are safe, and your character as well. This might sound very simple, but it's also very effective and well done. I also enjoyed the note where we find out that Baba Yaga has an illegal liver that's enhanced in some way and allows her to drink the denatured alcohol we often see her drinking in the cutscenes. And finally, for completely clearing the game on the hardest difficulty, I unlocked Van Ripper's recipe for pudding pies as seen in the game. Haven't tried them yet, but I do intend to. I'm interested in the world building of Awaria, even though we don't really get much besides these notes and what the boss says between levels in the game. Again, we know that Ula came down here of her own free will, presumably because she wanted to kiss the ghosts of her fallen coworkers, but her boss notes that this job is normally given to workers as a punishment. Instead, she approaches it with a smile and enthusiasm, and apparently also steals cooking supplies to make pudding treats to share with her ghost friends. This is the perfect mix of absurd, macabre, and fun that I expect from Van Ripper. It's a bleak world, but much like Helltaker, the characters are silly and interesting enough to make it an enjoyable and charming experience. All of the setting and the characters made me want to keep playing, and the fun of the gameplay made me want to try it on harder difficulties. Overall, I thought the game was really great, and I just kind of wish there was more of it. I would even say I ended up liking it more than Helltaker because I found the gameplay to be a lot more interesting. To sum it all up, these are both pretty small-scale games, but they have the personal touch, effort, and quality that I love to find in indie games. They're both free to play on Steam, and I'd encourage anyone to try them. I don't know if Van Ripper intends to make more games, but I truly hope he does. It doesn't really matter if they're long or short, I just really love his sense of humor and his attention to detail. Hopefully we'll see his work on this channel again sometime. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.